In this video, I'll be testing this Coleman Sundome 6-person dark room tint against light rain as well as heavy rain. Before rain testing this Sundome 6-person dark room tint, I checked all the seams inside the tint and found that none of them have been factory taped. But most of the seams have been inverted, like this tint body to bathtub flooring seam, the vertical seams, and some of the middle seams, because these seams have less rainfly protection. Seams that have more rainfly protection, like the window seam and this mesh wall seam, have not been inverted. As for the rainfly, all the seams are taped. There's also bathtub flooring that extends up to about 7.5 inches. I put this Sundome 6-person dark room tint through some light rain and it held up really well, with no leaks at all after the rain stopped about 30 minutes later. The bathtub flooring seam was dry, the flooring was dry, and all the fabric inside the tent were dry. On top of that, I was also able to leave my windows completely open and no water got inside the tent at all. The two mesh walls covered by the rainfly also didn't let in any rain. Unfortunately, it didn't rain heavily while I was using the Sundome 6-person dark room tent, so I had to make do with this water hose, and this is what my heavy rain test looked like. If you've been liking this rain test, please help me smash that like button, thank you, and I really appreciate it. After about 20 minutes of this heavy rain, I stopped the test to check in on the tent. Do be careful to not let your door droop back into your tent, or all the rainwater will get into your tent. The dark room tent was still completely dry, not even the bottommost fabric and the seams were the slightest bit damp, so I continued the heavy rain test. At about the 30-minute mark, when I stopped to check in on the tent again, I noticed that the bathtub flooring seam was starting to feel very slightly damp. If you look carefully, you can see leakage through this seam right here. Also, my fingers were slightly damp from touching the seam, but there were no leaks into the tent yet. 35 minutes into this heavy rain test, and this was when I first noticed the first few drops of water into the tent, which looked like this. All the flooring and fabric inside the tent were still completely dry though, even though they were put through quite a bit of heavy rain, especially the bottommost fabric as well as the flooring. One more thing I wanted to test was ventilation. During my heavy rain test, I found that the rainfly and this little window awning actually protected the window quite well. Most of the heavy rain was dripping to the sides and not the mesh of the window. After my 35-minute heavy rain test, I found that the window mesh was still completely dry. But this test happened in my yard and there's not a whole lot of wind. So if there's lots of wind, it might blow the rain into the window and you'd have to close the mesh window. Thankfully though, there are still these two mesh walls or vents that are fully protected by the rainfly and stayed dry as well. Overall, I really liked how well this Sundome 6-person dark room tent did in terms of ventilation, light rain, and also in heavy rain. I didn't add any additional waterproofing or seam sealant myself, and the dark room tent held up pretty well, up to 35 minutes of heavy rain. If you need it to last for longer, I highly recommend at least sealing the bathtub flooring seam here, because that's the first place it's gonna leak. For a full review on this Coleman Sundome 6-person dark room tent, check out this video right here. Thank you for watching, and I'll see ya in the next one.